Hello there, aspiring Tennos. I do not have a script for this video. I'm not entirely too sure what I might say, but I do have to talk about this. Now, I know there was a lot of YouTubers who right away pretty much made a video declaring just how great and or terrible they thought these Eximus units were after their rework. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to at least wait for a little bit to let my thoughts coagulate before I gave you my opinion, because in the past I have been a little bit too quick on the trigger. For one, I thought that Wisp was one of the weakest Warframes ever on her release. So I wanted to make sure that I understood these changes before I started talking about them. Anyways, so I'm gonna go over these one by one, and I'm gonna talk about what my experiences with them have been, and then I'll sort of at the end, I'll give you an overall grade on how I think the Eximus experience has changed for better or for worse. First up, we have the Arson Eximus type, which, by the way, in case you didn't know this enemy type is actually unique to the Grineer. These enemies will periodically create a shockwave around them, which can be rolled through to negate all damage. Having played Warframes before without primed sure-footed constantly being knocked down by these guys, I'll say this is actually, in terms of that mechanic, is actually a huge improvement, because giving you the ability to negate this effect is actually very nice. Playing against the Grineers in a survival above 40 minutes, you'd get knocked down constantly because there would spawn millions of these, it seemed, and there would be a shockwave around every corner. At least giving me a chance to prevent that is a huge plus for me. So anyways, then there's these guys. When I first saw the Shock Eximus type revealed in the dev workshop, I was kind of worried about it, because as you guys know, those of you who have played Mesa in the index will know that shock procs can be incredibly volatile, and especially if you get two of them on you and you for some reason are not able to get into your operator state, that usually spells death. So when I saw that there was this Eximus unit that would constantly be sending these heat-seeking electric orbs towards you, I was really worried, because I figured, hey, I'm gonna be dead on the ground a lot from shock procs, which is one of my least favorite part of this game. However, even though I've seen this enemy type a few times while playing through this update, I have literally never been bothered by them. So I don't know if it just has a really low chance to create a shock proc, or if it just deals a very small amount of damage, or if I've just killed them so fast that it's never been able to hit me, but I literally have not been bothered by these guys. The next guys here will create a zone on the ground that will sap life from you. I have yet to try and play against these on like level 5000 and above enemies, and I imagine if they siphon your life fast enough, they might be able to bypass shield gating. But playing against steel path enemies at around level 100 to 150, I have not been bothered by these guys whatsoever. Them sapping a little bit of life doesn't really matter. In Warframe, it's rarely the case that you're running around and you're like, I'm dying, oh no, I'm dying, I'm still dying, oh my god, I'm dying, and now I'm dead. Usually what happens is that a bombard will blow you up in one hit, right? So this kind of trickle damage doesn't really do much, and any serious build has some way of healing, so you're not slowly gonna get bled out anyways. Then we have these, and these are incredibly powerful. These are the Guardian Eximus. You can't see it right now because the AI are turned off, but when they're active, they'll have 3 shields that'll be circling them constantly, which has 100% protection against punch through, so you cannot shoot through them. So there's these small gaps in between them, which ideally you would have to shoot through. They have 90% damage reduction and also provides 90% damage reduction to all allies around them, so they are very high priority target, which I actually really like. The main issue I have with this enemy type is that I usually just end up doing this, because, you know, no shield above them, and then just blast them with AoE weapons. I also noticed that the explosions from the AoE weapons, if you hit the ground instead of the shield directly, you would still be able to deal damage through the shields. So it ends up being a little bit gimmicky, and it feels a bit cheesy when you're just up in the air constantly doing this to them. But yeah, I do at least in concept, really like these enemies. They do embody the whole concept of this is a priority unit that I must kill before I move on to the rest. And then there's these fuckers. These are the energy leeches. I don't know what they did to make them this terrible, but oh my god, did they make them terrible with this most recent update. I don't like. So beforehand, they would have this aura around them where they would consume energy. So you would receive a debuff, which would cause you to lose energy over time. This would also prevent you from gaining energy from stuff like energizing dash. Now, the way that this works is that it will create a zone under you constantly while it's alive, and if it hits you, it will apply a magnetic proc to your Warframe, which will cause the screen to go, which is, other than being very annoying, also causes you to lose between 300 and 400 energy. And once again, it creates this ring underneath you constantly. If you have to stop to pick something up, expect to lose all of your energy. If you get knocked down for any reason, expect to lose all of your energy. If you have to go into your operator form, so while you can't even move your Warframe, expect to lose all of your energy. It's this hard to see purple ring on the ground that when in the midst of all of the chaos becomes fucking invisible. I hate these enemies so much. They manage to pretty much suffocate all of the fun out of playing Endless for me. It's so unfun. You can of course use the arcane to which makes it so that you cannot have magnetic status procs applied to you, but having to use a specific arcanes at all times is ridiculous. My god, you are so annoying. Anyways, I'm saving you for last. Then we have these Arctic enemies, which are exactly the same as before. These are the oldest types in the game, and I mean, if it works, don't change it. So yeah, they slow you down and they create a bubble around the enemies that will sustain a certain amount of damage before exploding. So whatever. Then we have these, which are the Blitz enemies, which are some of the least threatening enemies in the game. They are, of course, they're still more tanky with their goddamn Overguard, and more on that at the end. But they'll send out a line of explosions towards you, which are very easy to see and which can very easily be dodged. It's going to be more difficult in the middle of all of the chaos, but it's not like it's going to be impossible for you to avoid this. So I really do like this. Also, it feels very fair. It feels like you have a chance to avoid it, and if you get hit, it's not devastating. It's pretty bad because unless you have some kind of CC protection, you will get knocked down and lose all of your shields in most cases. And then there's these, the Venom Eximus. These will only spawn as infested. By the way, these are Grenier only, the Arson, and the Guardian one is Corpus ground unit only, and the Venom is infested only. Now these guys here, they will have a zone around them, which it's a small circle on the ground. If you touch this circle, you will have a toxin proc applied to you that in most cases are gonna be strong enough to kill you. Only a select few Warframes with the ability to maintain at least 95% constant true damage reduction, because armor doesn't work against toxin. Remember that, it goes directly to your health and it ignores armor. So unless you have, and there's only a handful of frames that can do this, by the way, if you touch this circle of this enemy, which cannot be CC'd and which has additional health, which may spawn around any corner at all time, you will just die instantaneously. No shield gating, no nothing. I've had so many unfair deaths to these fuckers here that I can barely even count. So yeah. Ooh, I don't like you either. It feels really unfair because sometimes you can't see them in the mess. All of a sudden they're just standing on top of you and then you're dead. And I don't like that. It doesn't feel like you really have a fighting chance. And then there's the main thing that we have to talk about, and this is the thing that drives me insane, which I cannot believe that they've done this, but anyways, you see this little sort of outline around the health bar up here. That's called Overguard. And this mechanic is... So what I like about it is that it's neither health nor shields, which means that it's neither weak to viral or magnetic, which actually takes viral down a peg, which is nice because it has just been the absolute best status effect. No questions asked whatsoever. Just being the best in the game for a very long time. Ever since Corrosive was changed, this has pretty much been Alpha and Omega. So that's a good thing. The bad thing, and again, I can hardly believe this is not a joke. All right, I'm serious. This will prevent the enemies from taking any amount of CC except for up to 3 cold procs. Now, I want to remind you guys that before these changes happened, the main meta in the game was running around with some kind of really tanky frame for the most part. Korra and Baruch was probably the exceptions there. And then what you would do is that you would bring your Kuva Brahma or your favorite AoE weapon, and then you would kill everything. The time in the game when CC was king is long gone. It's such a long time since that was actually good. Right, so remember that damage and damage reduction is king, and CC is gimmicky and barely keeping some Warframes in the game. What are we gonna do? We're gonna rework our elite units to give them more health and make them immune to the thing that is not the meta, which is all crowd control. Do you know how many Warframes this absolutely kills? How many Warframes this absolutely murderizes? Here, I'll give you an example. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hide away inside of my protective bubble here because I don't want to die, right? This is Limbo's main level of defense. So I'm just gonna stand inside of my rift. I can't reciprocate because I'm inside the rift. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try and kill these enemies, right? Can't kill them because I'm inside of the rift and I'm dead. So I can't attack them because I'm inside of the rift and they're outside of the rift. But because they're not affected by the rift since they are Eximus units, right? They can still attack me. How insane is that? Honestly. Okay, anyways, enough of this. Enough of this. So when I do my overall review of this update, I'll go into more detail, but I think it's ridiculous that they are just immune to everything. Like, it's not fun to play against enemy types that are just immune to everything. I just don't like that. It's not fun. It's the same thing with the demo lists in Disruption, where if you're using some very specific setups that build around abusing and bypassing the mechanics of the demo list, sure, it's easy. But if you want to play anything else, that's too bad, because there is a giant aura around these enemies that will turn off Warframe abilities, CCs, buffs on yourself, and even fucking heavy attack wind-ups. That's not fun. It's not fun. I'd rather just have tankier enemies with more predictable moves. Just making them immune to all CC is insane. And the worst part is, it doesn't even kill Korra. I'll show you why. Okay, just look how much of a threat these enemies are to me. Wow, they're so dangerous. I really can't defend myself with Korra now that my CCs doesn't work. Oh wow, yeah. Now we just have a different meta instead, except there's fewer viable options. But this is still extremely easy because, you know, they're literally not attacking me because this game is not meant to be difficult. Okay? I'm gonna whip you a little bit. There we go. Take some damage. Obviously, I need to stack up before I can do any real damage. But I think you guys get the point, right? Like, these don't really offer up any real threat because they don't even attack me. Do you see how insane that is? Okay, anyways. But anywho, I think I need to sort of end this here. I hope you get the point that I'm baffled and I'm not understanding why they would do this. I think it's terrible, and it has pretty much killed any desire I've ever had to do any endless mission if I have to deal with that crap of CC immunity. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one, hopefully.